So John, thanks for coming. Really appreciate you taking some time out to share your thoughts on your journey with us so far. One of our very early South African investors, so it's a pretty good story, so I really appreciate you sharing that with us. So when did you purchase your first property in Australia?
We bought our first property in Australia in 2010. We came out here and met with an investor property who had heard about, and that's when we first got involved with yourselves and the property market on the Sunshine Coast.
Of all the places in the world you could have invested, why did you choose Australia?
We picked Australia because in 2010, looking back, it had never gone through the recession that the rest of the world did in 2008 when the GFC hit us. It is a stable economy, it is a very strong currency, and that's what attracted us here in the first place, somewhere to park our money or invest our money in somewhere that we could see potential growth. We specifically targeted the Sunshine Coast because at that stage I'd done a lot of research and a lot of people were migrating internally to the Sunshine Coast. There was a massive amount of infrastructural development going on here. Brand new hospitals, brand new schools were being built, and it just made sense that those people who are working or going to be living in this area would be looking for a rental accommodation, and as an owner, property owner, we're looking for a place that has a very high rental demand, and that's pretty much what brought us to the Sunshine Coast. And also the climate here, the environment here is very laid back and very easy to get on with people here, and that's pretty much why we came here, for opportunity from investment and then also lifestyle. Now I think to embark on something like this sitting in South Africa, not knowing anything about how the Australian system works would be very difficult. And I can't state strongly enough how simple Investor Property made it for us, from the decision to purchase right through the whole process of putting us in contact with legal people, accountants, banks, and then also finding and securing our first tenants. I think that was very, very important to us as investors from working from a distance. We had a go-to company and go-to people who could really, or who did, held our hand the whole way through, right up to when our first tenants were in, and that made it completely and utterly stress-free in that we knew every step of the way what was going on.
So tell me a little bit about the property. How much did you pay at the time, and what was the exchange rate when you purchased?
We paid just over $500,000 for the land and house that's completely built, ready for someone to go into. The exchange rate in 2010 was close to 6 Rand to buy $1 Australian dollar. So the house at that stage cost just over 3 million Rand in South African terms. The property we bought from Investor Property at that point in 2010 was what they call a land and house package. So we basically bought land separately and then built a house on that. It was a 4-bedroomed home, double garage, main ensuite. It is 8 square meters of house on a 600-meter square block. We particularly chose a gated estate, as we'd call it back in South Africa, more of a lifestyle estate in Australia, because it's lock up and go. It was very central to all the development that is going on in and around the area. And it had a very big advertising drive attached to it, not just through Investor Property, but on the entire coast. And people were flocking there, we thought, to invest and to live in that area. Simply because of lifestyle again, it's right against the coast, and right near all the action and right near the work.
John, you've been here for 2 to 3 weeks. What's your impression of the coast, and what do you think the value of your property is today, and especially in the context of where the exchange rate is today?
Looking around, I think that property at Brightwater now is easily worth in excess of $600,000. You certainly wouldn't be able to build it for less than that and buy the land. In Rand terms, the rand dollar now is 9 to 9.50, maybe even moving towards 10. So that would mean a 6 million rand investment here, and we built and bought for 3 million. So in the short period of possibly 5 years, taking growth plus exchange rate into account, we're 3 million rand up. And yeah, when you look at what's happened around here, 2010, a lot of the stuff was just coming out the ground. The new university hospital was just being built, or just been started actually. And from where we come from in South Africa, quite often what is said is not done. And what we're seeing here is exactly the opposite. When they say they're going to build, and they say they're going to complete by 2012 or 2015, it really happens. And everything that we were promised, or everything that we saw and were told was going to happen, is either being completed on schedule or busy being completed now. And yeah, we've just tried to rent a house, and we've had to pay in excess of what the market's asking to secure ourselves a place, which doesn't make me happy from that point of view. But as an owner, I'm ecstatic, because I'm certainly going to be putting the rent up in my properties. I think having just come out here and seeing what the property market really is about has given me a lot more confidence that we've done the right thing. Talking to a group of South Africans back home, I think the simple thing that stops us doing anything is just simply not starting. And even if you don't buy a property here, you can at least get yourself set up so that when you need to move, you've got bank accounts set up, you've got trust set up, and from there it normally flows naturally that opportunities start. If you sit on your hands and wait for the opportunities to come to you, you're probably going to miss them. And I think this area is poised, or maybe Australia is poised, to see some significant growth in the next couple of years in the property market. And yeah, we're certainly going to do another one very shortly through investor property. The reason that we use and continue to use investor property is simply integrity. Everything that we've been promised has come to fruition. The people we've dealt with have always been honest, and it's been very easy to deal with the people across a 12-hour time zone. We've always had very open communications with your officers. When you've had any issues with tenants, we've had it resolved within 24 hours. And I think simply, if my wish for my family and other South African investors is just to help them or enlighten them that there are ways to protect your rand, and one of them is to invest in a stable economy such as Australia.
Thank you. Are there any last words of wisdom you'd like to share?
If there's anything that I could tell the South African potential investor who's attending today's workshop, is that what is happening in Australia is portrayed very accurately through what you're going to hear out of Mel and Investor Property as a company. They are passionate about property, they understand the economics of property, and they understand what I certainly wanted as an investor. I wanted my money to start working on a cash flow basis here, and my wish for them is to really just get started and to protect their hard-earned rand that have been depreciating against most major currencies at about 12% a year. If you invested in Australia, you're probably going to see an appreciation of that from day one, not necessarily only against the exchange rate, but certainly also in the growth of the property and the rental return that this area on the Sunshine Coast in particular is returning to us.